Well, certainly for today, initially we're going to have some breezy winds because the cold front associated with that system that produced all the snow yesterday, little less than 2 inches, but with the big flakes and everything, well, it's being followed by the cold front, and that's what the winds are about. But then we have high pressure coming back in, and we're going to be looking at another inversion. So for today, we're at 30 degrees now for this morning, which means that roadways that were treated or were plowed yesterday, they're in pretty good shape. But some of the side roads, parking lots, driveways, sidewalks, they're all going to have some issues. Watch out for bridge decks as well. Sometimes you can get a little extra freezing there, especially under these circumstances. Winds out of the northwest at about 17. The pressure is rising, and it's that rising pressure that's going to be changing things once again. In the meantime, things are pretty much cleared out. That moisture moved through, but it moved through rather late in the Magic Valley. That's why we have a dense fog advisory there that'll be there until about 11 o'clock. Now, it really is dense in those areas. You have some difficulty traveling through there, so be careful. And if you encounter that, also had reports around Midvale, some fairly dense fog too. So again, be careful, cautious while driving. Other areas are actually still looking pretty nice. But in the meantime, that wind is going to kind of help flush things out of the area, and we will be seeing some improvement. But you can see where some of that moisture took a little while to get through portions of the Magic Valley last night. That's why the dense fog advisory there. All right, as we look out, we do see this ridge of high pressure, and it's out here in the Pacific. Likely going to stay in that area. It'll kind of stall right there, and it gets a little bit stronger as it does. The one nice thing is there's some low pressure and a low pressure trough that will kind of weaken it a little bit. It doesn't exactly really undercut, but it's going to kind of come down and form a little bit of a cutoff low. In other words, we'll see that around Southern California, but it will weaken that ridge and maybe start to slide it a little bit. It takes a while for it to move out, so we're likely going to have that with us all week through next week, which means we're going to end up with an inversion. So we're going to be seeing the same kinds of conditions that we did. Our 7 first alert futurecast sees some of this air being trapped down into the valleys again. We're going to get very little mixing of the air, become stagnant air. There is problems with air quality, air pollution, and of course we're going to see that going in. But it looks like we'll be still just about as mild as what it was this last week. So in other words, never really getting out of the yellow category. We're good now for today. And of course, forecast shows temperatures into the 30s. We're going to be 30s even for the higher elevations. We see a lot of the higher elevations very similar to some of the valley temperatures. So in other words, we're going to be in the 30s for the high spots. We're going to be into the 30s as well for the lower Treasure Valley. And while it will be 37 for Boise, it'll be 38 for Idaho City. Your 7 first alert 7-day forecast. Well, those temperatures do cool a little bit, and we do expect to see inversion conditions next week. Doug?